Say there's a kid or a woman in Pakistan that is 14 years old that's clearly a math genius.
Yeah.
And we're going to say, no, you go to China.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to yesterday's news channel where we watch CNN so you don't have to. Today, we've got Kevin O'Leary joining the panel on Newsnight with Abby Phillip. And to no one's surprise, he's the only adult in the room as the panel tries to turn Trump's H-1B visa comments into some kind of MAGA civil war. Ana Navarro and some other dope on the panel paint all conservatives as racist. And Abby pushes the idea that conservatives hate all immigrants. You know, it's a typical day at CNN. Thankfully, Kevin O'Leary and Ben Ferguson were there to expose just how little every liberal on the panel, especially Ana Navarro, actually understood about the topic at hand. Anyway, let's watch Kevin O'Leary sit there genuinely stunned at how mind-bogglingly clueless the panel is. Let's go.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
well, we
a
have
country
plenty of talented people
you
here.
don't. No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents.
In MAGA world, this is slanderous to have more immigrants in this country. And I don't know, it's interesting to me. I wonder what you think.
They're sitting over in Poland or somewhere, and they go through all the paperwork, and they do all this stuff.
I don't think the Polish ones are the ones they're objecting to.
Well, they don't like Indians or Chinese, I guess.
Or
Mexicans or anybody that's brown or black.
But that's the mix
So
that
Ben,
comes.
help us understand this. Why is Trump thumbing his eye at his base on two issues that he knows that they care a lot about? You know, part of this is back when he was running in 2016, he actually had a very kind of strong position on H-1Bs. Let me just play what he said in 2016.
I know the H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it.
So it's no surprise that MAGA is wondering where that guy went.
I don't think this is as big of an issue in MAGA world as you're implying that it is. I think there's some that are upset. I think there's a lot of people in MAGA world that are saying, as long as you come to this country legally, you don't break into this country, you do it the right way, you go through the paperwork the right way, that there's not an issue here. Because a lot of people in, quote, MAGA world understood what the president was saying here. And I think his point was, there are skilled workers. There are certain industries where we can bring in workers, and that makes sense. Does it mean that we have a country that has no border, where we have lawlessness and we have anarchy and we have people running across the border and working illegally and illegal immigrants? That is what MAGA world does care about. They want a secure border. They want an orderly immigration system. And they're not saying keep everyone out or keep some workers out or all workers out. They're saying do it the legal and right way.
J.D. Vance, just a couple of days ago, he was speaking publicly, and he made it very clear. In fact, I think he said explicitly to a student at a Turning Point event, we have too much immigration in this country. That is a real thing in MAGA world. You can't pretend that it's not. There are many people in MAGA world who think that we just let
reality
too many people in, legal or
Number one economy on earth, the American economy. How was it built? Immigration. Look, after the Second World War, the scientists we brought into this country. We curate the best. We bring them here to create jobs and companies. What's going on right now in policy that I don't agree with is, I teach at Harvard and at MIT and many other colleges. If we curate these amazing students from all over the world, and we bring them into a cohort to train them how to become entrepreneurs in America. They want to stay.
Yep.
If we don't do it,
the
Chinese will.
Totally.
So I'm just saying, let's figure this out. Do we want the Chinese to train them, or do we want them? We want them, every single one of them, to stay here, and I want them to get their passports, their families get passports, they'll create jobs, and I will invest in them. Every single one of them.
This wasn't your run-of-the-mill CNN spin. This was a panel loudly debating an issue they clearly don't understand. Their whole narrative here was, Trump praised H-1B visas recently, but criticized them in 2016. So MAGA must be furious, and Trump is flip-flopping. But here's what they conveniently skip. Trump took a major step towards fixing the exact abuse he criticized. Back in 2016, he called out how companies were using H-1B visas to import cheaper, lower-skilled labor and undercut American workers, and he was right. So what did he do? He added the $100,000 application fee. Just to be clear, it didn't magically fix the entire system, but it dramatically changed the incentives. Overnight, the cheap labor loophole stopped making financial sense. The only reason to pay that fee now is if the worker is genuinely high value and truly specialized. And that lines up perfectly with what Trump said in 2016. Stop the abuse, protect American workers, and still bring in the top talent that actually strengthens the country. So in this next clip, Ana Navarro really shines. She tries to explain the rationale behind the fee and instantly proves she doesn't understand how the program works. Back to it.
Let me explain to you why Donald Trump has changed his tune on H-1Bs. Because today, he hangs out with the CEOs of the big tech companies, right? They were at the front row of his swearing in. They come to the White House all the time. They're the ones funding his ballroom. They're the ones donating to any pet project that he wants. I'm talking about Tim Cook and Bezos and Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all of those folks.
All those big Democrat donors.
All of those folks who have, who have Trump's ear are telling him how important H-1Bs are to their businesses.
Right.
Why the $100,000 fee? Because there's only 65,000 H-1Bs available in the country every year. And there's almost 500,000 people that apply, companies that apply. What happens now is that the Googles and the Microsofts and the Amazons are going to edge out the community hospitals in rural areas.
Amazon is number one.
They can afford to pay the $100,000. The rural hospital in Iowa cannot pay.
They're already edging them out. I do think the H-1B program needs some attention. It needs some degree of reform.
Abby, do you want the next Einstein to come to America or to Shanghai? What do you want?
It's about fighting for talent and people that are brilliant.
I'm not fighting against an H-1B visa, folks. I'm the daughter of immigrants. Both my parents are naturalized citizens of this country.
So you should be for bringing people here.
I am saying there are real concerns that people have about companies that abuse the system.
We're talking about genius, bringing 65,000 geniuses to America.
Kevin, you know that it is not just geniuses. Sometimes they're abusing the system and sort of bringing in medium to low wage workers. Maybe there's an argument to be made that more of those visas should be available for rural hospitals, should be available for people in the life sciences, should be available for researchers, should be available to the geniuses in other fields.
So let me go back to the core here.
I think that's a fair argument.
My whole point is, at the end of the day, it's a competition globally, and it's between two giant economies, China and the United States of America.
And I go with America.
And listen, there's nobody else that compares in terms of the size of the economies. Right now, why is Zuckerberg paying $100 million for 10 years for one AI scientist? Because we don't have enough of them in America. Say there's a kid or a woman in Pakistan that is 14 years old that's clearly a math genius.
Yeah.
And we're going to say, no, you go to China and we'll compete with you later. How about we bring them into this country like we did in the 50s? Like, how screwed up is this?
So in case you had any doubt before, that last clip is where the panel fully exposed how little they actually understand about this issue. Ana Navarro claims Trump changed his immigration stance because he's surrounded by billionaire tech CEOs funding him. This is beyond just incorrect. It makes zero sense. Here's the reality. Big tech hates the $100,000 H-1B application fee. It stops them from abusing the program. It removes the financial incentive to import cheaper labor. It forces companies to only pursue truly high-value talent, the kind actually worth a $100,000 investment. And then Abby, I guess she was trying to smooth it all over with what she considers, for lack of a better term, policy talk. For some reason, the liberals' go-to example in these situations always rural hospitals, and then she pivots to researchers and life science jobs supposedly not having access to talent from outside the country. But just like Anna, all she did was prove she doesn't understand what's actually happening, because Trump moved this system exactly in that direction, away from loophole hires and toward genuinely skilled, high-value talent. From a big-picture standpoint, though, Kevin O'Leary was clearly the standout there, and he made the best point of all. This isn't MAGA versus immigrants. It's America versus China in a very real global talent war. We train world-class minds in American universities, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, and then we want to send them home so China can hire them? Or do you think maybe we should keep them here, let them innovate here, and let America win? The stakes around the conversation they were having is a very real thing, and Kevin and Ben were obviously the only ones on that panel who really understood them. There's still plenty to criticize about the H-1B system. It's not fully merit-based, there's still room for abuse, and in some fields it actually still can push wages down. And while Trump's $100,000 fee doesn't solve everything, it does address all of those concerns to some extent. And it essentially wiped out the biggest abuse of all, the cheap labor loophole. Now companies only pay that cost when the worker brings real exceptional value. It's a win for American workers and a win for American innovation. So yes, liberal panel, conservatives support legal immigration. Yes, they want the border secured. And yes, they also want to bring in the best talent on earth when it strengthens the country. This is how silly CNN's getting. I mean, they can pretend that those ideas contradict each other, but they just don't. If you like watching people like Kevin O'Leary, Scott Jennings, Ben Ferguson take down these liberal morons, then click on one of the videos on the end screen. But what do you guys think? Did Trump's reform fix some of the program's biggest problems, or are you someone who is vehemently against the program overall? Please let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy this kind of breakdown and want even more behind the scenes content, consider joining our membership program and becoming a founding father. You'll get exclusive posts and more direct access to the channel. As always, thank you for taking some time out of your day to watch my video. I always appreciate it. Your time's valuable, and I never take anything you do for granted. Otherwise, always put God first. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And click on that end screen, like I said.